What's up, everybody? David DeFranco here from daviddefranco.com/ask. That is your open forum for submitting questions for future videos, such as this one. And here's visual proof. What is that? Oh my god. No. Seriously though, this is now GearPop forums. Ever since I moved my website from Squarespace 5 to Squarespace 6, unfortunately I cannot use the built-in forum software anymore. It's just one of those things I had to give up. But this means great news. So all future Ask a Question videos, such as this one, are powered by GearPop forums. So you can still go to daviddefranco.com/ask. It will auto redirect you to these forums. And the first question ever on this new forum comes from Ronald Petre. Hopefully I said that right. Ronald says, and I'm going to paraphrase, "Hi David, considering the iPod Touch 5 was a huge improvement from the iPod 4, rather than it just being a small update or upgrade, do you think Apple will bother releasing a new one this year considering how large the update to the device was?" And then he goes on to talk about the iPod Touch further. But, okay, Ronald, this is an excellent question. And by the way, Ronald's over at youtube.com/Ron Petre. So I'm going to take Ronald's question and turn it into my predictions for the October Apple event that's already rumored to be taking place in just a few weeks. Yes, the iPhone 5S and iPhone 5C were just announced. Actually, as of this video, they're not even available for purchase yet. And we're already thinking about next month's event. That right there is the tech industry for you. We're always moving forward, always thinking forward. And quite honestly, I love it. So let's talk next month. What is Apple going to unveil in October? Well, lately, Apple seems to have a new pattern. Every year in October, they do the iPad event. I mean, it used to be January or whatever, but now it looks like we're moving into this fall phase. Because last October, we saw the iPad mini, which is obviously a huge success. As much as I love that amazing form factor, I mean, seriously, it feels great. I just cannot get past that furry, yeah guys, that furry, that blurry display. Others may disagree with me, but quite honestly, I think it looks horrible. Fast forwarding to today, it looks like the iPad mini could finally get Retina display in just a few weeks. And I'm telling you, if and when that day happens, this thing is going straight to eBay. I love my iPad. By the way, this is the 3rd generation, not 4th gen. I love this thing, but it's just so freaking huge. For instance, every night I sleep with my iPad watching Netflix because I'm currently using my old Xbox 360 and it doesn't have Wi-Fi built in. So long story short, I can't stream Netflix. Anyway, so now I use my iPad, which conveniently sits next to me in my bed. Then I always wake up with it next to me, and I always check Twitter, Facebook, because that's just what I do. But sometimes I find myself doing this, and it really hurts my wrist. Really, it does. I mean, this thing is heavy for holding it in bed, especially above your head. And honestly, the other day, I almost dropped it on my face. And let me tell you, if that happened, that would have hurt. Seriously, that would have hurt like a mother. So getting to the point, iPad mini with Retina, seriously, it would just be the perfect device in my eyes. So Apple, please make it happen. And honestly, I think it will happen. I've seen people say, well, David, it's not possible. The battery life would suck. Well, if the Nexus 7, the brand new 2013 Nexus 7 can do a higher res display than the current iPad mini, then why can't an iPad mini too do it as well? I mean, let's face it, Apple's incredible technology. They know how to optimize their software and hardware to work with one another. So I don't see why it's not possible. And then moving on to the other iPad, let's talk about the 5th generation iPad. Now, Apple did announce the iPad 4th generation last October alongside of the the 1st gen iPad mini. But unfortunately, it was nothing more than a speed boost, and honestly, it was just an excuse to kill this little guy, the 30-pin dock connector, and turn it into the new Lightning port, which is nice. I don't really blame them for that. But it really wasn't that exciting of an update, hence my still having the 3rd gen iPad, as I almost drop it. So the iPad 5th generation, I really can't see it bringing anything in terms of breakthrough technology. I mean, sure, they might increase battery life here and there, and obviously put in better specs, maybe such as the A7 processor, the same one that the iPhone 5S is using. I think it's A7, right? I'm losing track of the numbers. But will it have the fingerprint scanner? No. I don't think Touch ID will go into the iPad and iPad mini until next October, as in, 2014. I think Apple wants to keep the fingerprint scanner, again, also known as Touch ID, exclusive to the iPhone 5S. Now, sure, the iPhone 5S is a completely different product with a completely different market than the iPad and iPad mini, but still, following Apple's past patterns, I think they're going to keep it exclusive for at least a year to come. And now getting into Ronald's original question, will Apple update the iPods? I think yes. So let's start out with the iPod Nano. Really, it's so freaking difficult to predict what Apple's going to do with the iPod Nano. I mean, they have changed the design practically every year now, and it's always dramatically different. Sometimes they go for this tall design, then the next year they go for the fat design, then one year they go for the really tiny design that's practically the size of a watch, and then last year they went back to the traditional vertical design, but not as big as previous models. It's actually quite small. I forgot to activate caffeine. My display just went off. So in other words, I don't really know what they're going to do. I mean, last year they introduced Bluetooth support, and I really do like last year's form factor. I mean, I think it feels great. It looks great. Well, honestly, I think the display's resolution could look a lot better, and the color reproduction is kind of pale, at least when you compare it to something as beautiful as the iPod Touch and iPhone. But hey, that's just me. So I guess we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if anything, that's probably their most exciting update that they do every year in terms of the iPods. Besides the iPod Touch, and getting into that right now, the iPod Touch, I mean, I don't really know what else they can do besides bump up, obviously, the obvious. Did I just say obviously twice? I did. You know, better specs, better battery life, and maybe even more colors, because colors seem to be Apple's new thing. So they got to give you some reason to go for the iPod Touch and not now just the $99 iPhone 5C. It's very interesting how the products are getting more and more similar. Now, of course, at the end of the day, the iPod Touch is not a phone. It doesn't take a genius to realize that. So that is the big dividing factor between the iPod Touch and the 5C, yeah, the 5C slash the 5S, and even the 4S. Apple, please, take the iPhone 4S off the market. Just kill it already. So the iPod Touch, I don't know. I mean, I don't really expect anything revolutionary. I mean, if anything, I expect evolutionary. And then, of course, there's the iPod Shuffle. Quite honestly, probably the most boring iPod in their lineup nowadays. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I do love the iPod Shuffle. I have several of them. Yes, up on my iShrine. Actually, right up there. I have a video on that if you're interested. But still, am I excited for the new iPod Shuffle? No, not really. I mean, if they even update it, they might put higher capacities in, better colors, and maybe something like Bluetooth support. That would be nice, but then again, you might need a display to configure the Bluetooth just in case you need a pin. But if it has some kind of auto parent technology, I don't see why not. I mean, we don't really use those Bluetooth pins nowadays. I mean, yes, sometimes you have to, but for something like the iPod Shuffle, I don't see why you would need to. And finally, there's the iPod Classic, which I'm surprised it's even still around. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the iPod Classic, and I hope Apple never kills it because, like the name suggests, it's a classic, and it's just one of those things. Without the iPod Classic, things like the iPod Nano, iPod Shuffle, and the iPod Touch, and even the iPhone and iPad, they would never exist. So the iPod Classic is kind of one of those devices where I think Apple is kind of scared to touch it. They don't want to kill it because they'll get all these diehard music fans like, why'd you kill it? That's the largest hard drive you have, and I don't know. I mean, I don't use an iPod Classic nowadays. I just use my iPod. Actually, I use my iPhone for music, as well as my iPad, and sometimes my iPod Touch. So that's just my opinion. I mean, I don't really see them introducing anything new. But hey, if they do, I'm not going to argue against it. And finally, last but not least, well, probably least in my book, the iWatch. Will we see the iWatch in October? No. Guys, I can promise you right now, we will not see an iWatch this year. Seriously, this year, 2013, is not the year of the iWatch. We will not see it. I can promise you that right now. If anything, Apple's priorities from here on till January or whatever is releasing iOS 7, optimizing it the best they can, releasing new iPods, releasing the iPhone 5S, 5C, an iPad mini with Retina hopefully, and probably the iPad 5th generation, as well as the new Mac Pro and OS X Mavericks. So in other words, Apple has plenty to keep them busy. So don't expect an iWatch anytime soon. And guys, honestly, I don't really want an iWatch. I've already talked about this enough in a previous video. I mean, sure, Apple might do a good job and they might revolutionize the watch. Who knows? They could do something breakthrough-like. But at the end of the day, look, I don't wear watches. I wear freaking wristbands. This is the most I want on my wrist. And yes, I am wearing a hoodie. Thank God. Hoodie weather is in town. And now, Ronald, I hope that answered your question. Obviously, I turned such a basic question about the iPod Touch into everything I'm expecting from Apple in an entire month. But you know what? I love to talk. No regrets. So again, check out Ronald over at youtube.com/Ron Pitre or Pitre. Pitre. Sounds like French. I will link him right below. Now guys, since today is an Ask a Question video, you guys get a free audiobook of your choice by going to audibletrial.com/thecreativeone. So click that link right below, sign up, and let me know which audiobook you download. Email me over at daviddefranco.com/contact and I'll give you a personal shout out in my next Ask a Question video. I can promise you that right now. So just be sure to include your name and any URL of your choice, such as YouTube, Facebook, your personal website, anything you want. And now, keeping true to my promise, today's shout outs, I only have 2 of them, because I guess people weren't really that active this time around, which is fine, but this is proof that I'm doing it. So shout out to youtube.com/Apple99man, as well as youtube.com/TheMikeVision, who really liked the book called Changing the Game, How Video Games Are Transforming the Future of Business. I don't think I even know about that one, so I'll have to check that out. And speaking of video games, I'm patiently waiting for Grand Theft Auto 5 to arrive. Please hurry up, UPS, I'm dying here. So those are today's shoutouts. Again, guys, if you want a shout out of your choice, just let me know. Email me over at daviddefranco.com/contact. The only thing required is to use that link right below and just let me know what audiobook you downloaded and enjoyed yourself. This is just my way of making this a win-win scenario for everyone because 1, I'm partnered with Audible. Can't keep track of my own finger. And 2, you get a free shout out. So I really don't see the harm in it. And as always, guys, I appreciate your ongoing support. Seriously, each and every one of you is awesome. Thought I saw UPS. And keep those questions coming over at daviddefranco.com/ask or even just go to gearpop.com/forums and explore the many categories that we have there happening every single day. So thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.